Thank you. So glad to be here today to talk about what I think is a very exciting topic. This talk is titled AI in Practice. And what I'm going to do in this talk is provide you with two very concrete examples. I'm going to share with you production screenshots from two AI use cases that we've implemented in Lederne. But before we get into the exciting stuff, I'm going to share a bit of context, because I think before we discuss these very concrete use cases, you need to understand something, a little bit about context, who we are at Lederne and what we do, because otherwise these use cases will not make a whole lot of sense to you. So we are Denmark's largest professional organization for directors, managers, trusted employees. We organize roughly 135,000 members, and we offer a whole heap of services related to people's career. We offer education, inspiration, network. We also have the unemployment insurance fund. We also offer private insurance products. So that's the commercial side. And then the last bullet I will spend some time on, because we have a dedicated team of experts that will provide personalized support to members all throughout their career. So this can be anything from any sort of career perspective you might have. Maybe you got a new contract, you got a new employment contract, you want that reviewed. Maybe you just want some career advice, and we can provide that to you. So that's the context. Bear that in mind when you see the use cases. And me, I'm head of data analytics at Lederne. I've been with Lederne for 3 years, and data and analytics has been sort of started 3 years ago and has been on a journey since then. And we've really focused on bringing about real value using AI. So these AI and data products that I'm going to share, I'm really going to focus on how they create value in organization, and you're going to see that when you see the examples in a second. And the first use case I'm going to touch on is employment contract review with AI. So this is the scenario where you as a member, this is a key membership service that we offer, very popular. So when people get a new employment contract, they're hired at a new location. They can send it in for review, and one of our legal experts will call you up and say, this is everything you need to know about your new contract. Be aware of this and that, and so on. And just to highlight the existing business process, it's like this. A member sends in their employment contract for review. The contract ends up in our CRM system, and one of our legal consultants will call the member at a scheduled time, and they will provide feedback over the phone on their specific employment contract, everything they need to know about that contract. And this is where the first use case for AI lives. So it's not directly it's not something that the member sees, but it's something that the legal consultant sees. So the next slide, I'm going to show you the actual model, a screenshot of what the legal consultant will see before calling a member and providing them with a contract review service. So just bear in mind that this is a decision support tool for those people. It's not directly member facing, so the member won't really notice the model, but the legal consultants will. And this is what it looks like. So this is when a caseworker logs into the CRM system and prepares to call a member and give feedback on a contract. Our AI model has already scanned the contract. And there's a lot going on in this, and I'm going to go step by step and show you everything it does. But basically, it's actually an older AI model. It's a BERT model, which thank you, Google, for open sourcing that. And it checks 54 legal terms in the contract. So first, the contract is OCR scanned, then it's fed into the model, and the model checks for all these terms that our legal team has deemed that they really would like to know if they are in the contract. So going step by step, in the first section, it's this is actually not AI. This is just which member are we talking about. This is just data. But it's kind of key when you give a contract review that you want to know who is this member, what's their data. Then the second part to a contract, an employment contract, is a company. And here the AI model has identified the employer's VAT number, which must be mentioned in the contract by law. And it's looked up the company online, found out if it's registered, if it's active, how many employees are there, stuff you also would probably want to know when you give an employment contract review, and stuff you would otherwise have to look up manually. Then there's an actual contract review process where the AI checks, is this contract legal? This sounds very advanced. I promise you it's not, because it's a simple check. In Denmark, there's a law that says what must be in a contract for it to be considered a contract. It's like 12 things. It's like there must be a start date and so on and so forth. And we can actually see from this example that this contract is not, strictly speaking, legal, because it's missing, this is in Danish, but I'm going to translate, it's missing a start date and a specific amount of working hours, which must be mentioned. It's not a huge problem, but it's just something you would like, again, to know when you give feedback to a member. Next thing it does is it's found every single thing that would be needed in order to look up in our own internal salary calculator, so it can give a salary estimate of what the hour. This is a whole other model, thinks that this member should be paid. So it's found the title, it's found the company, it's found the size of the company, the business it operates in, the geographical location, and it's fed all that data into our own internal API, which gives a salary estimate, and then they can use that to provide feedback to the member as well. Then we get to the actual contract review, where the AI model checks and highlights if it's found specific contract terms. This is a clickable HTML document, so that the caseworkers can click on links and it'll jump to the section that and highlight the section so that they can verify for themselves that it's actually there. Then there's special checks. This is something that our legal team specifically asked, that if these terms are mentioned, then we really want to know. And then there's potential stuff that could be missing from the contract, or stuff that is not mentioned. They also want to know that. And in terms of impact, I promised you that we would talk business impact as well. We do an automated satisfaction survey every time we close a case in Lederne, and that's any case. That's not just a contract review service, that's anything. We deployed this model in 2021, so we are pre-ChatGPT, pre-everything. So as I mentioned, an older model, but it still holds up. And as you can see, this is the amount of people who said they're very happy with the contract review as a service. And that line has never been above 70% pre this model. It's now never been below 80%. I'm not sure I can attribute everything to the AI model, but it sure is nice to see these kinds of numbers, so we can document the positive change we do with AI. And it's not just numbers. We also have qualitative feedback. People write comments in these automated satisfaction surveys where we can see that they specifically mention stuff that this model enables or makes easier. For instance, salary negotiations, stuff that would otherwise, before this model, require a lot of clicks and manual sort of work for the consultants, and also take more time for preparation. Now, the production architecture, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this slide. The point of this slide is basically to say, this is not just an effort that we do in data and analytics, and then we deploy this model and we never see it again. We actually closely collaborate with an in-house focus group, our legal team, and our caseworkers, and we constantly get feedback. This is also a model that the legal team themselves have trained. So they've actually trained this model, and they are also training it live in production. So if you see around where it says 4, the caseworker can actually alter the prediction if they deem it to be incorrect. So if they spot a mistake, they can actually punish the model, and that data is sent back to retraining, and the model hopefully improves next time and doesn't make the same mistake again. So that's our legal tech AI. The next case I brought with me today is something new for us. It's something called, we internally call job match with AI. If you think about if you're unemployed and you're looking for a job, you can imagine sort of job listings everywhere, right? If you imagine these dots are job listings, there's a lot of jobs that may or may not be relevant to you. Typically, how your mental process works is that you map it on 2 axes. You say, I want a job that's somehow close to me, if it's not fully remote, and I would like a job that's relevant for me in terms of what I want and what my skills are. And we think that we can use generative AI, and we think we have proven that we can use generative AI to solve this problem for our members as well. Typically, you'll be interested in these jobs right around here, right? Close physical distance, close relevance, matches your skills. This is unfortunately not live yet, but I promise you it works. I can't show you an actual live demo, but this is, if you imagine the simple front end where you just give your basic information and you upload your resume, we can actually use AI to give you very, very good recommendations on specifically tailored to you, your physical distance, your skills, what you would like to achieve. And this is a real result from my resume uploaded to this model. So apparently this is my next job. And what's interesting is if you see the front end is in Danish, and we're a Danish company, so that makes sense. It actually answers in English. That's because we told it to answer in the same language that the resume is uploaded in. And you know, this is really the generative part of it, where it gives you a summary. It gives you, just a high-level summary of the job. You can also click the link, and you can jump straight to the job description. You can read it for yourself. It lists your core qualifications. Why are you relevant? What should you really bank on in this job? And then it even gives you an application draft that you could submit, or you could start working on, or start improving if you were interested in this job. And it gives you a whole list of jobs. I should say this is just, couldn't fit on the slide, so this is just the first top priority that the AI model has found for me, which is this. And again, I just want to briefly touch on production architecture, because I think this is an important point. Again, this is built on GPT-4 in Azure, but you cannot just prompt GPT-4 and iterate over every combination of resume and every combination of job. And if you did that, it would cost millions in API costs. It would not be very environmentally sustainable. It would not be good for anything. So actually, what we did is that we use a vector database to find the relevant jobs. And actually, the only thing GPT-4 does is that it selects from 10 candidates, it selects the top 3, and then it gives this description and assembles all the data in a nice email for the user. So it's just, I think it's an important point, because you still need data scientists, you still need data engineers, you still need people to do to get you to production. You can't just prompt GPT-4 and hope for the best. It will work in a demo, it will not work in production, it will not scale. This will scale. And if you look at the prompt, again, we just prompted in Danish, actually. We give it a resume, a job title, and a job listing. We told it it's a professional assistant that must advise a person on finding their next job. and that it must also reply in the same language that the resume is uploaded in. And the talk is called AI in Practice and how we got there. Now I've shared 2 examples, very quickly, I know. But I think it's important to spend some time also on how we got there, because this didn't happen overnight. I call this the road to production, but at Lederne we've been working with data analytics, as I said, for 3 years. We started with basic data literacy in the organization, upskilling the organization, making people understand why is data important, why is data governance important, why do we need a data warehouse, why do we need a central data lake. And I think the key point here is that it's important that you get your whole business involved, and that it's not just a skill that lives in the data team. Second thing we did is that we scaled our team and our competencies. We brought on new people, doubled our team in 2 years. We also brought in new competencies, data scientists and data engineers, to help build our new platform, because that's the next thing, is that we really moved to the cloud in these 3 years. We needed scalable infrastructure, infinite compute, and we've landed, I think, in a good spot on a fully cloud data platform that really serves as the basis and makes this whole thing work. So data and analytics in Lederne. How do we spend our time today? It's mostly data science and AI. We have roughly 25 AI models in production. You've seen 2 of them today. We have many more. Data engineering is a really important subject. I think it's underrepresented in this debate about generative AI. It can't really be overstated how important data engineering is as a discipline in order to enable data science and AI to succeed. BI, still important to us. I think it will change in the coming years. Maybe talking to your data is the new thing that you can do. We still run a lot of reports, but we mostly focus on data science and AI. So how can you create value with AI in your organization? I would say I have 4 pieces of advice. I would say start with business objectives. What are you trying to achieve? This should be the start for any one. It shouldn't start with the technology. I think it should start with the framing the problem. What are we trying to achieve? And then I would say lay the foundation and get to production. I've seen way too many demos that never actually work. And as I've shared with you 2 production slides of how the AI models live in production, you can see it's not that easy. It's not just buying whatever product that a vendor pitches to you. There's still a road to get to production. And then I would say get your organization involved. As you also could see from the first screenshot with the legal tech AI model, it's not just the data science team that sits in isolation and does this model. It's really a team effort, cross-disciplinary effort. The entire organization must be involved and understand why are we doing this. And then I would say the last thing, document and show the positive change with data. I've shared some slides with you that show the satisfaction increase that we can quantitatively measure. And I think it's just really important in order to get this stakeholder buy-in that you can show that you've made a difference with this technology. Thank you. That's my talk.
Thanks, Henrik. I find the concept fascinating of shoving all the data into the vector database and then getting it out again and popping out the best job listings for just you. It's incredible. But you mentioned earlier that you started off with an older model in 21 named BERT. And we talked actually earlier regarding the training amounts and so on that you had to do it. Could you tell us a little bit about how you went about the teaching of the model and how it would differ, for example, today? If you got to pick and choose today's tools, what would you go with now? And how would that look?
Very interesting question. Yeah, the legal tech AI model that you saw, it was built with BERT, which is a smaller model, so it requires more hand-labeled data. We've provided 100,000 hand-labeled legal term sentences, actually.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. It's taken a lot of time to build that data up. It's not for nothing, though, because we find that it really improves the model. And also the newer models will improve if you give them data, but we find we don't need as much data with the newer models. So I think, the BERT model, we need per observation 2,000 observations, per legal term 2,000 observations for it to perform well. With the newer models, we need 100 observations.
20 times less.
And for some things, no observations.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That clearly changes then how you would go about deploying.
It really does, but there's also a cost aspect, right? I mean, with the newer models, we're acquiring an API, which is not free. It costs has a cost attached to it. The BERT model can run on a VM in Azure. It's not really that big, right? So yeah.
So pros and cons.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah. There was actually a question from chat actually earlier regarding biases. Have you noticed or have you been able to measure any kind of bias in matching the job titles to applicants?
So this is a new service. We are still testing it, but yes, there is. I mean, I'm not sure which specific bias is referred to, but I mean, I'd rather talk actually about the other model, the contract model, where we've spent more time working with that model, and we actually, what's interesting is that I think, yes, AI can be biased, but you can also use AI to identify biases that are systemic to our society. So one insight that our contract review model gives us is that we now know what's in a typical contract. All right, you also get data from this previously unstructured, unavailable data that you could sit down and read, but now you can actually query it. So we have explored, can we use this AI to find systemic bias in contracts, perhaps age bias or other bias that we can identify, right? Are people being treated equally in contracts? I think it's an interesting concept that we're going to spend some time on in the coming years at Lederne, exploring more.
Interesting. Did we have anything else?
I think that's it for now. Yeah, thank you so much, Henrik.